Let's go.
Coming up in this episode, the boys explore a brand new reef in the Coral Sea.
Welcome to my fishing place, the place to be. And we wanted to try out a new reef system up in the Coral Sea.
But this time, the challenges were a little bit different. When we flew in on that plane, barely wobbly coming in, looking up, breezes blowing. I mean, there was gusts, there was 25 knots there at some point. And I think the crew before us had a little bit of trouble in the wind. So it was looking a little bit more difficult than previous trips.
And the funny thing was, after our last trip to Bligh, we had glass outs, we had beautiful conditions, and I just didn't even think to check the weather. It's like, yeah, off we go, it's all good. And the funny thing was, as I was packing my gear, my spray jacket actually fell out of my cupboard, right next to my bag. And I'm thinking, far north Queensland, rain, so I put it back at the top. And then we get the first day, everyone's jacketing up on the boat. I'm like, dude, no jackets. So anyway, I just got soaked. Everyone got soaked anyway, but
Well, it wasn't the only sign. So first of all, you didn't check the weather.
yes,
Second of all, your jacket fell down and you didn't pick it up.
yes.
The third sign was one of the guys on board was an actual weatherman.
You gotta read the signs.
You gotta read the signs.
Next time we'll read the signs. Next time.
But despite the bad weather, we tried a whole range of fishing techniques and we got onto some great fish. The rewards were there. We just had to work a bit harder for them.
So here we are, we've got aboard the mothership and we go at the back of the mothership and we look down and what do you see?
GTs.
Everywhere.
So we are running, literally running for rods and they go, hold it right there, champ. This is a green zone.
You throw an apple in. It does, it goes, oh, watch this. Throws an apple in and GT just goes, it's like, no way.
Told ya.
Imagine a popper.
Monstered. And there was just so many fish there. Like, at night, there was just hundreds of fish. Totally unfishable.
And there's super trendy GTs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why these ones, this is now empty.
There's now a cool GT,
Cool GT.
swimming the Coral Sea.
We're down there feeding the GTs. I've decided to slap the water a bit to get a couple up with my hand. And next thing, Sonny's in the water. And, about a metre away, and I'm about to reach to try and grab him, and out of nowhere, GT, Sonny's gone.
Only one man stupid enough to hand feed a GT $300 sunnies. That's Dazza. You idiot!
Damn it! Never my Sonny's.
But it's just like, it's awesome. There's that much aquatic life there. You're more frustrated than the vegetarian and Hungry Jacks because you can't fish it. But it's just like, come on, there's fish there.
So we've landed, we're sitting in a green zone, there's heaps of fish there. How pumped we're to be steaming out to Jewel Reef, just going, it will be on. Coming up after the break, we hit the flats for some exciting fishing.
And one of the things I love at fishing is fishing flats. Fishing in that shallow water, it is so much fun. I love chasing big fish, big GTs, But for a change, heading up on those flats when it's rough weather is so much fun. Like you're fishing in 1.5 meters to 2 meters of water and you're trying to pull fish out like this on light gear. It is just the bomb.
Yeah, and we did it and got 10 different species before lunch. Like where else do you fish and just get that kind of variety in what you're fishing for? It's so much fun.
I mean, I cast for a little while, you know, probably cast for half an hour before a first big strike. And the next thing you know, I get this monster long-nosed emperor. I think it's the first one I've ever caught, so first of its species. And it smashed that lure on the surface. I was throwing this little Riptide 155, and honestly, I'd cast it, 2 pops across the surface, and it was like an explosion. And next thing you're up trying to keep that fish, you know, it's 50 meters out that way. The line's that angle, and you've got to stop that fish going 1.5 meters on light gear. That is the bomb. It is good. It's fun.
We were talking before about the anticipation. You're up here in North Queensland and you're on the flats and you're just looking, and this is just a fish heaven. And I had this little Mad Scout on, which is, they really just flick through the water. They're a great lure. I think I cast for probably an hour, I reckon, before I got my first as well. And you just whining, come on, come on. And yeah, like you say, next thing, boom, it's your first fish and you just pump, just whine. And it was the same thing, long-nosed emperor. You know, beautiful looking fish, but you know, the first fish of the trip, you're like, yes, it's game on.
Yeah! And it's so visual. I just like every take, you either see the fish or you see the eruption. I dropped my first, I don't know what it was, cast out and just one crank and then just water explodes. I just love it. It's like a tug of war. As soon as they're on, it's like, quick, go, you know, jam that lure and try and keep it out of the reef. Flats fishing's awesome.
And it's one of the only spots where I think you can legitimately get away with high sticking. I mean, that rod is in the end, it's like, stop! You're like trying to stop that fish getting back to the reef. Yeah, it's awesome.
They are tough rods though, because at one stage you were on and taking photos, and of course, I'm hooked up to this red bass, and I'm just thinking, I do not want to lose this fish. You're taking photo of your fish, this happens often as well, you know. So they're there taking, Kieran's doing his Hollywood, and I'm with this red bass, I'm going, this is not getting away. So just whoop, and the old cap's like, having a heart attack. It's like, don't worry, man, it's under control.
Don't show that on television. Beautiful red bass, caught on the Nomad tackle, Riptide 155.
I love the chaos.
And the species of fish you see up there is amazing too. Like as Keza said, there was 10 species before lunch. And the funny thing was, I was telling one of the guides, oh look, I've only ever caught one, but I caught this nice big Maori sea perch up I think on this particular reef one year when I was fishing it before. And he goes, mate, that rare, I've only ever seen 2 of those caught. About 3 casts later, I've hooked up again, massive, and it was this nice, beautiful big Maori sea perch. I'm sure I got a pic of it. They are just a beautiful looking fish.
Up next, we drop down some heavy jigs for some big fish. So one of the exciting styles of fishing we did was the heavy jigging. And so we pulled up, got in the spot, and Dazza, you were the first one to drop down.
Yeah, I was dropping down a jig similar to this sort of, this sort of profile, and I think it's about 60 metres of water, letting down, letting down, letting down, letting down, letting down, letting down. Why is it so light? Right up. I didn't even get the lure to the bottom, and a Spaniard or something's come through and cleaned me up. Okay, retie on, and here we go again.
And while you were retying, I've done my first drop. All the way down, couple of cranks, and then burst off. Boat's in reverse, pulling it out, and I dropped it, so, yeah.
And same thing with me. With just a couple of jigs and desk, and just like this crack. And, whoa, and it probably lasted 5 minutes, and then just gone. I'm just like, what are we doing here?
We actually didn't even get one to the boat in that whole heavy jigging section. And I think this is part of a trip like this, is the bitter disappointment that you're just bound to feel on multiple occasions. From drop, big fish, you know it's big and you never get to see it. I mean, it just happens.
Well, I think we moved from, like, we're doing that jigging. It was a little bit rough out there, so we said, look, there was nice pressure edge. Again, let's go cast that. So we went casting that with some poppers and stick baits, and I think you stayed on a softy lead.
Yeah. With some light gear.
So much fun. Yeah, because we said we were doing the flats, and so I thought I'd take up my Stratic 4000, and I took up a 1.3 Fate, and I just thought I'll give it a stab. And anyway, so at the back of the breakers, I was throwing a Z-Man 7-inch jerk shad, and it was on a 1.5 ounce TT headlocks head, and a couple of casts. The next thing, and that some serious hurt on that rod.
Scaly mackerel on the 138 Fate flat.
On that gear, it was an awesome, awesome fight. Like on the other rods they had there, most of the stuff is brawn, but on this little thing, it was so much fun. It was gold.
And a big shout out to Big Red for catching our bait.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Haters gonna hate. Yeah, no, the cameraman actually said, do you want a photo with us? I said, no, I can't. They're going to use it as bait. I don't want a photo.
Because we did actually tie that little scaly mackerel on and throw her out the back, didn't we?
But who? Here's my question, okay. These guys say they're pretty smart fishermen. Well, we go out to 60 metres of water and we drop a scaly mackerel down as a livey. What do you think's going to take it?
Maybe, no, maybe, just maybe.
There's a 1%. There's a 1% chance of milk dog too.
Yeah, but the other 99%.
Yeah, but that's why Dazza got the rod and not me.
I
thought on the 1% chance it's worth it, but on the 99% he can wind it in.
And he's just doing these ones. I'm just thinking, you idiot, you
I
idiot.
think there's, yeah, that was, I don't like pulling up sharks. 8-foot sharks, whatever the stupid thing was, are not worth pulling up. But how's the shot of the amount of sharks in that water?
When we're looking at it back, it's like shark here, shark. It was like 12 sharks all coming up. Man, I would hate to fall in that water. That is not a good game. The thing with that heavy jigging though is how is the power of these fish? Your Stella, new rod, how hard is it to just get movement on your reel? To give you some idea, I reckon we've got to give the guys at home just a sneak peek into just how hard these fish pull, because you cannot overestimate it. So you've got your Stella there, we're fishing with like lock drags. Here's what I'm going to put. We'll go out to our testing lab, right? And I'm going to tie some line around me and I'm going to demonstrate running as hard as I can to show you how hard it is to actually pull line off a reel. And these fish, you hook up and it's just like that. And I'm telling you, it's so much power to deal with. And if you get the chance to experience it, it's unbelievable.
But for this test, wouldn't you want the most powerful of us three to be the runner, like me?
Fine, I say we hook Big Red up. Actually, that would be a much better test, having you, Big Red, attached to the line.
Yes, I've got, say, 15 kilos of drag. Big Red weighs a fair bit more than that. Him running,
just to see how far I can run.
Just start, I'll hold you and you just go.
Let's go get Big Red. We've got a jig stick here, and we've got the Stella 18,000 with a 100-pound braid. And we're gonna see if we can, Big Red can get home to the reef. Challenge well accepted.
If I can get 20 metres, what lure are you going to give me?
Chuck Norris. Because that's what you're throwing. You're throwing these things.
All right, done.
I'll destroy it. I'll leave that real smoking, I'm telling you now.
Like home for doggies.
All right, here we go. I'm about to charge towards the reef. Try to stop me.
Ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
Right. Holy nut. It must be tight drag. I might try it again. You would never stop the other one.
Round 1, snap the braid. 100% confident.
I'm going to take on another 110 kilo doggy.
That's better, okay. A little bit less drag, but what shouldn't snap the braid.
Ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, come back and tighten the drag. One more chance. Oh, I had it just for like brim fishing.
I was brim fishing.
Woo!
Super confident.
3, 2, 1, go.
I've got a Big Red. Conceded. He won.
Well done, Big Red. Does it? I do believe you owe him Chuck Norris.
Thank you. I knew I'd win all along, just quietly. So, yes, well done to me.
I'm not doing that again in a hurry. That was delicious.
Coming up after the break, we do some heavy jigging. So another first for me on the trip was my first ever Chinaman, and that thing pulled like a freight train. It was just, and it's a beautiful fish, but again, just the next thing, boom, and it's like whoa, whoa, and it just got heavier and actually heavier instead of I'm putting all this effort in and it's not going anywhere. But it was beautiful fish, first species, so. You got one as well, or not?
Yeah, I've got a Chinaman. Caught them before, and even though they're a no-take species, people sort of look down on the old China a bit because they're full of the ciguatera, so you can't eat them, and they're a release-only species. But they are one of the toughest fighting fish in the ocean. And you won't find a fish fight harder than a Chinaman trying to get back to his home as a reef.
You know, it was probably this big, but yeah, the fight on it was double for the size of the fish. It was a massive fight.
They're an underrated sport fish as far as I'm concerned. I caught my first one for this trip and I was just like, oh, sick. Yeah, they go pound for pound. You think you've got a bigger fish than you do because they just fight so hard.
Got this Chinaman on an 8-inch Z-Man on a 3-ounce TT.
And there's always, I guess on these trips, like we always talk about, a standout lure. And I think on the flats, like I tried the Madscad first, and Keza and I both had these Nomad Tackle Riptide 155 sinking lures.
Perfect lure for out here.
And it's basically, it's a very simple retrieve. It's just a sweep of the rod. And again, these really sort of skip through the water like a wounded bait fish. And we were getting monstered on these things, not just on the flats throughout the whole trip, weren't we, Keza?
So I was fishing with one right from the start and I just kept getting hits. And then finally I got these hits and I hooked up on a big cod. And there was heaps of weight. It was a great fight. Beautiful big cod, pulled off the shallows. But then I think it was after that, man, give me one of these, tie one on. And we got belted. Like, we just got slam, slam, slam. Mine was all busted up. I'm still a little disappointed that I left it tied on. And then I got busted off, just like jig, jig, bang, gone. And then I think about 3 or 4 casts later, Big Red here's like, gone. I'm like, no. And then we had no more sinking riptides on the boat. So we were...
And we pulled up to the other boat and he goes, no, mate, sorry, I haven't got any of those on board.
Had a whole tackle box full of them. In our next episode, more action in the Coral Sea.